This doorway here is called the north doorway for the boring reason that it faces north, that direction there. But there is a more romantic or poetic name for the doorway, and that's the whispering arch. Because if somebody whispers into this channel here, and somebody listens at the same point on the other side, you can hear what the first person has said. I could be lying to you. So would two people like to give it a go, just to see if it does work?
In 500 feet, you'll arrive at Clonmacnoise Monastery.
Look at that one. It's like somebody dropped it there on its corner. We're at a place called Clonmacnoise. We're on our way to Dublin. This is our last day in Ireland, but we decided we had time for one more stop on the way, and this was recommended to us by our Airbnb host, and it's a monastery that's over 1,400 years old. You know how we learned that it's a combination of the Christian cross and the pagan circle, that St. Patrick combined the two. Well, you can see in this cross that Christianity is becoming dominant because the Celtic interlacing is confined to either the circular part there or to the sides, but not the major part of the cross itself. So you've got some Celtic here on the sides, but most of it is Christian images. So it's taken precedence over the pagan symbols. The base would have also had complex Christian scenes. This is eroded, so you can't really see it much anymore. But this would have more or less been decorated from top to bottom, and predominantly with Christian themes at this time. You can see just a little bit of Celtic here on the side and up there on the underside of the cross arm. Archaeologists think this is about a 9th century cross, predating the last one by at least 100 years. And you can see the difference in the ornamentation. This one has far more Celtic designs on it. So it was still holding its own against the Christian symbols. Christianity was yet to become more dominant. At this time, there was still quite a bit of Celtic all the way up the sides, all the characteristic intertwining symbols of the Celtic pagan religion. And even on the faces of the cross, which we did not see much of in the earlier cross.
So the stone ruins here date from the 10th to the 12th century. Clonmacnoise, as you can see, today it's quite a quiet, remote and isolated place. But at its height, the archaeologists who worked here think that about 3,000 people, several thousand people lived here. That was around the year 900, and that's based on the animal bones and crop remains that have been uncovered here. And around the year 900, this population was comparable only to Dublin. The only other urban area like Clonmacnoise around 900 was Dublin. So the capital city and here were once the same size, but Dublin overtook it vastly in later years. So some like to think it could have been the capital city, but it wasn't to be. So I'll just say a little bit about these three features that we can see down here. To the right, this more modern looking building is called the Pope's Shelter because it's where the former Pope John Paul II prayed when he came to Clonmacnoise. So he was on a national visit to Ireland in 1979 and he was here on September 30th of that year. This building is also used for open-air Catholic Mass on Kieran's feast day, which is the 9th of September. And to the left we have one of the round towers of Clonmacnoise. These towers are commonly found at Irish monastic sites, but unusually at Clonmacnoise we have two. The cathedral. It's the largest church ruin left at Clonmacnoise, and the oldest parts of it date from the early 10th century, around the year 908, and that makes it the oldest stone church in the country when it was originally built. We appear to have three saints carved above, and one of its names is the Doorway of the Three Saints for that reason. This doorway here is called the North Doorway for the boring reason that it faces north, that direction there. But there is a more romantic or poetic name for the doorway, and that's the Whispering Arch. Because if somebody whispers into this channel here, and somebody listens at the same point on the other side, you can hear what the first person has said. Oh yeah. Yeah, it worked? Okay, thanks very much.
When archaeologists found this site, they found that this tower was missing its top, and they determined they had been hit by lightning, and they rebuilt this tower, the top of it, as a separate tower using the stones from the old one. They think it would have been about 9 stories tall originally, so you can imagine this tower with this tower on top of it, and would have been quite tall. Here are the remains of a castle that looks like somebody just dropped it on its corner right there on the hill. I'm sure it's a result of erosion, but it's really funny looking. Well, that was a really interesting stop, well worth a couple of hours and not too far off of our route. Liz, if you're watching, thanks a lot. We really loved it. So if you're traveling across the country between Galway and Dublin, or the other way around from Dublin to Galway, it's an easy detour, not too far off the beaten path, and really interesting about the monastic life here in Ireland 1400 years ago.